Today we're going to learn how to simplify radicals. We'll start with the review. Can you multiply x minus 3 squared? Remember what this means. It means x minus 3 times x minus 3. So I'm going to put this in a box. And we're going to find the area of each box. So we have the first box is x times x, which is x squared. Then we have negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x. Same thing for this box. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. We're going to combine like terms, which would be our negative 3x and our negative 3x, and then write it in standard or general form, which is the highest power, highest exponent, x squared, on down. So we have x squared minus 6x plus 9. So we spent a few days multiplying out these polynomials. Today we're going to learn how to simplify radicals. The symbol for square root looks like this. Square roots are also called radicals. Your goal today to be able to simplify a radical or a square root. And so we're going to take a look at the steps for doing that. So the first thing that we need to know to simplify radicals is what square numbers are. Square numbers are found by taking the area of a square. Find the area of each of the following boxes. Well, area is base times height, and here the base is 1, the height is 1, so this area is 1 unit squared. This one is 2 by 2, and you can see that that area is 4 units squared. This is 3 by 3, that area is 9 units squared. We have a 4 by 4 and a 5 by 5. And so for a 4 by 4, this is 16 units squared, and a 5 by 5 would be 25 units squared. If you count the boxes, there should be 25 of them. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36 are called square numbers. Explain why they are called square numbers. Well, we can see from the previous examples that they come from taking the area of a square, with the length and the base, or the base and the width, or the base and the height of the same number. So list all the square numbers from 1 to 144 below. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25, 6 squared is 36, 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, 9 squared is 81, 10 squared is 100, 11 squared is 121, and 12 squared is 144. This can go all the way up to x squared is also a square number. Let's simplify the following square roots. What number times itself is 36? Well, that answer would be 6. Also, negative 6 would work as well. Negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. What's the square root of 16? In other words, what number times itself is 16? That would be 4. Also, negative 4 would work. And what is the square root of 64? And that would be 8. Also, negative 8 would work as well. Okay, what if a number isn't a perfect square? Do you need something?
I'll need to take it.
Oh, okay. I'll check you out. Thank you. All right, what if a number isn't a perfect square? Simplify the square root of 50. So there is not a whole number that if you multiply by itself, it's 50. So here are the steps if it's not a square number. Step 1, think of your list of square numbers. What's the biggest square number that you can divide 50 by? And if you don't know, just go down the list. 50 divided by 1, that works. 50 divided by 4, doesn't work. 50 divided by 9, doesn't work. The biggest number we can divide 50 by is 25. And the reason is 25 and 2 are factors of 50. So we can rewrite the radical. The square root of 50 is the square root of 25 times 2. Let's pull those apart. So we're going to split this into the square root of 25 times the square root of 2, which becomes 5 square root of 2. All right, and that would be the simplified radical. So you're pulling out the biggest square number. One part will still be under the square root sign, but we don't write it as a decimal. All right, let's try the next one. Simplify the square root of 40. Again, here are your steps. Think of the biggest square number that you can divide 40 by. And I believe that that would be 4 is the biggest number. So this is 4 times 10. So let's write our perfect square first. Let's simplify and rewrite. So we're going to pull this apart. Square root of 4, square root of 10. And then we're going to simplify the square root of 4 as 2 square root of 10. And there's your answer. Okay, so it's pulling out the biggest square number and leaving the rest underneath. Let's do another example. The square root of 48. What's the biggest square number we can divide 48 by? And so you go down the list, and the only ones that you can test really are any number smaller than 48. So you can only test these numbers right here. And I believe that the biggest square number that we can divide 48 by and get a whole number is 16. So this is the square root of 16 times 3. Let's break that apart. The square root of 16 times the square root of 3 is 4 square root of 3. And there's your answer. So the only numbers that you have to test are the numbers that are smaller than that number. And you're looking for the biggest one that you can divide that will not give you a decimal answer. And then you pull it apart. All right, we'll try a couple here. It says you try, but we'll do a few together. All right, so the first is the square root of 72. And you go down the list. You divide by all the numbers less than 72. So the ones that you're testing are only these guys right here. So it's not that many to test. And you want to find the biggest one that you can divide 72 by. So I believe 72, that is 36. Yep. So we have 36 times 2. Rewrite it, square root of 36, square root of 2. So you put that square number first, and then you simplify. So another way to write the square root of 72 is 6 square root of 72. You can check your answer. If I type these in, so if I do the square root, let's go here. All right, so if I go to square root of 72, hit enter, and if I type in 6 square root 2, which is the equivalent form, we should get the same decimal, and we do. So you can see how they're equal. All right, let's try the square root of 50. The square root of 50, let's see, that would be 25 is the biggest one times 2. And break that apart. We have the square root of 25 times the square root of 2, which is 5 square root of 2. All right, the next one's 108. So again, when you're testing your square numbers, you can only divide by all the numbers less than that. All right, so let's try this. All right, so I get, when I'm dividing the biggest number, and so I actually start from the highest power down, so I'm going this way right here. And the biggest one that I got was the square root of 36 times 3. The square root of 36, so I'll rewrite this. The square root of 36 is 6, so we have 6 square root of 3. And again, you check your answer by typing in the square root of 108. And get that decimal, but then check the other one. We have 6 square root of 3. So 6 square root 3. And we get the same thing. All right, so your assignment, you'll be practicing this. And I think on the worksheet, there's a way for you to check your answers as well.